Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Homeland Security. June of 2015 saw 127 undocumented illegal alien children per day showing up on our southern border. Meanwhile, Mexican drug kingpin El Chapo has U.S. anchor babies and a California driver's license. Now, even Democrats, including the Washington Compost, are speaking out against sanctuary cities. More, we've talked about this on the air before. We'll continue to talk about it because it's an issue. You can't have an open door on your border. No country does it. If you sneak into Mexico, you do 5 years hard labor. And I really resent the fact of all these people that are getting on Trump for saying the basic fact that there are people in this country that are doing no good. It's a fact. You can't ignore it. What say you?
Let me just make a comment about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a guy that's totally necessary to really bring all the facts to the table. Any self-righteous politician who wants to get elected wouldn't dare say half the things that Donald Trump says. I think Donald Trump feels bringing facts on the table, as much as they sting, as much as they hurt, as much as they insult, they're going to speak for themselves. And if people don't like it, that's too bad.
And here are some of the facts. 30% of federal inmates are illegal aliens. 1 in 10 children born in the United States is born to an illegal alien. Those are some facts. You can't continue to do this and have a country be sovereign and prosperous.
Well, first of all, what makes me absolutely breathless is the fact that there is such a thing as sanctuary cities. I don't know of any country in the history of the world that allowed within its borders to have places where those that were not allowed in for whatever reason could come in certain cities. This is why this lovely girl that was shot down in San Francisco was killed by an illegal alien from Mexico who had been deported 5 times by order of the federal government, but the federal government did not implement its basic order. And the excuse was, well, in the sanctuary cities, you can't interfere with the desires of that particular city. And when I saw the list of cities and states that allow the sanctuary concept to, it's grown like a sickness, that within the framework of the United States of America, you have large areas where anybody can come in legally or illegally. They can come there. It came about.
And they're covered and protected by these cities.
Well, you know what the original instigation of it was? When you had these revolts in Central America and there were people being murdered by their own government, like Guatemala, Salvador, and so on and so forth. And these cities felt sorry for them. They said, well, you can come into our city, we'll protect you. Well, that was up to the government to make that decision. And they felt the government wasn't going to make it, so they made it themselves. So now you've got large segments of the United States of America that'll allow anybody in there that feels that they're being persecuted. And that's an easy case to make.
Minneapolis, Minnesota is a perfect example. They have a huge Somali population that has been brought in here. Have we vetted these people? Absolutely not. And then they end up going back and fighting for Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab and all these other terrorist organizations. And then they bring this to the United States. Idaho, oddly enough, has a shortage of mosques because we're bringing in Syrian refugees by the dozens and hundreds and putting them in Idaho. The whole country is being repopulated. By
the way,
and this is what hope and change looks like.
Yeah, this may not be relevant, but out of the 20 million people that made up Syria about 10 years ago, about a quarter of them have left as refugees, which is unheard of a modern state losing a quarter of its population because of the fact that Syria as a state, as a country, really doesn't exist anymore. Hafiz al-Assad might be living in a nice palace in Damascus, but half of Damascus is now in the hands of
ISIS.
ISIS, exactly.
So we're bringing in Somali refugees. We're letting the
people that never
south
even,
of the border just flood into the country. We're populating other cities with. This is exactly what the transformation of America is. Make no mistake about it.
well, let's be more definitive. The greatness about America was that anybody that was lucky enough to come into the United States, and I was blessed the United States for providing my family refuge. What do you think my greatest desire was? To become an American, be like all other Americans, be somebody of consequence in America. This was a great honor. Today, these people coming in, especially as you say, unfortunately, the radical Islamists, they don't want to be American. They just want to use America for their own deeds of bringing America down.
And we are stupid enough and pathetic enough to allow this to happen. And not only allow it, but we're pushing it and supporting it to happen.
I don't think it's stupidity. I don't think it's indifference. I think it's the leadership in this country is behind it and is delighted to see it happen.
And there's no opposition.
There's no opposition to the de-Americanization of America.
I want to talk about El Chapo for a second, the drug kingpin.
Yes.
He has a wife, he has several wives, but a couple of them are here in America, having babies, becoming American citizens. He actually has a California driver's license. That's how pathetic California is. We also now have a population where there are more Hispanics than Caucasians in California. How much longer can California stay afloat based on the recklessness of what's going on?
Well, I just want to rectify something. I have no objection to Hispanics versus traditional Caucasian Americans. My objection is to the level of people that are coming into this country that don't have any value system that is American. If all these people were, I guess that the greatest Hispanic population in this country is in Texas, and that has been shown by the fact that about 45% of the Hispanics in Texas voted Republican because they appreciated the government and the liberties that were given to them that they could never have in their own country. You know, one of the great disappointments I have with Mexico is Ferdinand Nieto, the young guy who's supposed to be the Kennedy of Mexico. He's just as bad as the rest of them. I think things have gotten worse under him than they did under some of the more questionable characters that were president in Mexico before him. Do you know that, this I know by a fact because I've studied Mexico very thoroughly, and I had a plant in Mexico, and actually even learned Spanish so I could speak to the employees, that in Mexico, there was no middle class. There were only people that
the
were
elite,
the elite,
and the poor.
And there was no president that ever left after 6 years in office with less than $1 billion. So once they get into that presidency, they look at it as an opportunity to get rich and powerful.
Well, that doesn't happen here because, like Hillary Clinton said, when they left the White House, they were broke. That's why they had to steal the china and the linens from the White House.
The fact that she is a pathological liar has something to do with that.
Oh, that's applauded now. How well you can lie and get away with it.
Absolutely.
That's actually an enhancement.
And even when it's proven, it doesn't seem to detract from her stature.
No, not at all. We need to take a short pause. Our political insider and moment in history are coming up. Again, if you missed any segments, just go to our website, theworldreport.org. And when you're there, make sure to like us and recommend us. And you can follow Maury on Twitter @MBeschloss. We'll be right back.